interesting about this day is that it's basically full of like some of my best friends in the industry, which is really nice. This next person is no exception to that. She is a remarkable woman. She is a tremendous outside-the-box thinker, really great example of a self-starter. Her name's Courtney Spence. She is the founder and executive director of Students of the World, which is a nonprofit organization that creates basically mini film studios on college campuses around the country, teaching and enabling students on these campuses to make films specifically centered around cause-oriented issues. She worked on she worked for Hillary Clinton at one point. She is a documentary filmmaker. She's an entrepreneur. She's a really, really smart person and also a very, very good friend of mine. And I'm going to bring her to the stage right now, Courtney Spence.
Excellent. So how are y'all doing? You doing all right? Good. Good. I'm from Texas, if the y'all didn't give me away already. Well, Evan, thank you for that kind introduction. I want to thank Dolly for her vision and commitment to making this event happen, and to all of y'all that are here today. Events like One Day Immersion are really, really important because as aspiring creative professionals, there's really no set, clear path for us. There's no cookie cutter way, there's no prescription in a box. It really is about great advice, like we just heard before this. It's about relationship building, and it's about looking to those that have gone before you to learn how they have managed to achieve what they have done. I think aspiring to be a creative professional, it takes community, it takes courage, and it takes purpose. And I'm going to talk about those things in a little bit. But I do think one of the greatest challenges in life is finding a way to make a living doing what you love to do. And I have been blessed, really, really blessed, in a very purposeful and meaningful career that I started not really knowing that I was starting in as an undergraduate at Duke University. As a sophomore, I started a club on campus called Students of the World. And the idea was that I felt very strongly that the next generation of leaders in this country, my generation, as American citizens, would have to learn to become truly students of the world. And nearly 15 years later, I think we have seen that idea. We've seen a lot of truth come to that idea, and we've also, at Students of the World, been very blessed to now be running a national nonprofit organization that really enables and sort of inspires young people to harness their creative talents for social good. So we are an organization of university students and professional media makers whose sole purpose really is to use storytelling for social good. And the original concept for Students of the World came directly from my life experiences. To begin with, I am blessed with wonderful parents and a father that created a great advertising agency in Austin, Texas. So my whole life, I was raised to understand the world through the lens of media and storytelling. We would watch the Super Bowl on mute, and then when the commercials came on, we would turn it up and we would talk about the commercials. So my whole life, I also love football, so that is betraying two of my loves, I guess. But I digress. So I was raised in a household that understood the power of media. And then when I went to Duke University, I was really, really blessed. I had an incredible group of friends, an incredible set of professors, so many inspiring experiences that I think happen in a college environment. And particularly at Duke, there's a place called the Center for Documentary Studies. And if you haven't heard of it, you should check them out. They're really, really cool folks over there. But they really espouse and sort of preach this idea that media should be used as a tool for social activism and change. And I thought that was a pretty powerful idea. So at 19, I decided to kind of marry my passions, and I created this concept of bringing together my peers who were interested in storytelling and basically organizing us around trying to tell stories for cause-based communities, particularly those working in international and developing countries. So the summer of 2000, a group of 10 of us traveled to Russia, to a village called Kitesh. Kitesh is in the Kaluga region, which is about 300 kilometers southeast of Moscow. Southwest, sorry. And it is an incredible village that literally was created from nothing, but the purpose of the village is very unique in that it aspires to care for orphaned and foster children from some of the worst state-run orphanages in Russia, which are notoriously atrocious. So basically, couples would move from Moscow to this village in the middle of nowhere, build a home, and adopt anywhere between 6, 9, 13 orphan children from these orphanages to raise as their own children in their own home. And it was an incredible experience. We lived with families, we learned, we documented, we danced, we planted potatoes, because it was Russia, and had an incredible experience. And it really was that literal embodiment that it takes a village to raise a child. And the whole process, I think we learned as a team that you don't have to speak the same language to share a conversation. And we left that village in that remote place, halfway around the world. We returned home. We had rolls of camera film because at the time everyone was we had, I am like the senior citizen of the millennial generation, so I'm just going to put that out there. So we weren't taking photos on our phone. We had the old school rolls of film. So we came back home and were really empowered to try and tell this story on our own campus community. So we did slideshow presentations. We did photography exhibits. Anyone that would take a minute to sit down with us, we would talk to them about this really innovative community that we had just come to know a few months earlier. And 14 years later, Students of the World is still doing very much the same thing. We are mobilizing young people to go out into their own communities here at home and around the world to find the most inspiring stories from the individuals who are fighting on the front lines of social justice. Because every day people wake up in this world and they go out and they choose to fight for the great issues of our time. These are the people that are on the front lines that are changing our communities and our world. And I think it's our job as creatives to help lift those voices, help lift those stories, so that we can learn from the models that exist, so that we can be inspired by those that are actually doing real positive work in the world, so that we don't just hear messages of fear and terror and war and everything is awful, because yes, things are difficult, but even in the most difficult of times, there are incredible individuals changing lives, saving lives, and we need to hear their stories. So we've had about 400 alumni go through our program. We've documented work in about 27 countries. We've done work. We started working with the Clinton Global Initiative 7 years ago, and through them have been able to do work for really great large organizations like UNICEF and Water.org and the Make It Right Foundation, down to very kind of smaller, kind of community-based organizations. And while the programming has evolved, technology has certainly evolved, our equipment has evolved, our mission remains the same, and that is really to unify the creative voice of our generation to improve the world around us. So building Students of the World has not been an easy journey at all. It's been a joyful one, but it has certainly been a difficult one. There's been lots of struggles, some failures, lots of falls, and I think that professionally, difficult times are the same as personal. They truly do make you stronger. And if you use those difficult experiences to provide you with perspective and appreciation, you will be such a more effective leader and person in both the good times and in the bad. So today, Students of the World looks a little bit different, and I want to talk about that just a bit. We are providing mentoring and training opportunities to students and young professionals all over the country. We see ourselves as an incubator for creative concepts coming from our generation that have a purpose. We also have an ability to provide production opportunities from brands and causes and nonprofits who are really interested in having their stories told through the lens of our generation. I mean, we are the millennial generation that is rising, and I think we're starting to see that there's some early adopters that get us and get who we are, and then there's some that are going to come a bit later, and I'll talk about that in a second. But I think that the true gift that our generation has to give and has in abundance is that of creativity. I think that's what makes us different. And I do believe that it is through our creativity and our compassion that we are going to make some massively great changes in this world. So, thank you. Okay. So lying at this intersection of the millennial generation, of creativity, and of causes, we have seen a real increase in interest in our programming and our mission in the last few years. And it was a year ago May that I walked into Evan's office over at Pivot and Participant Media. I had known Evan for a couple years, and I had been a huge admirer afar of Participant for the films that they did. I wanted to make the films they made. I loved their purpose. Our students did too. And I think in a lot of ways, albeit differently, that's the kind of work that we had been doing from day one. So in our initial meeting, to put it simply, I was blown away. Evan started to talk about the mission behind Pivot, the motivations behind creating it, talking about companies like Warby Parker, Tom Shoes, and how this millennial generation really is going to change the way that companies do business. He spoke of creating a media channel that truly understood my generation with a passion and a belief that I had never before seen. I was astonished, I was inspired, I knew that I wanted to be a part of that journey. I wanted students of the world to be a part of that journey. So I left the meeting, called my business partner, whose name is also Courtney. She's right there. And I said, Court, I think we've just found what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting a long time for a media company to understand who we were and what we were doing and the creative power of this generation. And so began our journey with Pivot. Ever since, we have been collaborating with them. They have been an incredible partner. We have been blessed to witness them launch their channel in August and see so many of their visions come to life. We have been very blessed with their belief in our mission and their support of our students. With them as partners, our students now have some pretty incredible production opportunities. And I want to show you an example of this. This last spring, we hosted a 5-day timed documentary film challenge. And the prompt was based on Pivot's values, which are brave, credible, and disruptive. And we had students come from all over the city that gave up 5 days, nights, probably some sanity, to find a story that addressed those 3 key values, produce that story, edit, and turn it in, and it was sort of a race to the finish line. But the content that these students created is phenomenal. The stories that they found were inspiring, and the piece you're about to see is just sort of a quick behind-the-scenes clip that one of our students did produce that kind of gives you a bit of a flavor of what that timed challenge experience was like. And it also shows how brands are starting to come to the table and really want to engage in the conversations that our generation is having. So if we could roll that, that would be great.
I want to get into documentary filmmaking, social awareness, what's really going on in our world.
So we're all here trying to create this masterpiece that we're almost finished with.
And the kind of knowing that we're having an impact on it, spreading awareness about this issue and kind of putting our hands in it a little bit is cool to know.
Everybody had all these different ideas.
I can't think very straight. And this is the longest I've ever stayed up, probably.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know where I am right now. And then it was all good.
I just feel like you're more invested when you're in it to tell a good story.
We're passionate about what we're doing, and there's a certain drive behind us.
Wow, I've seen this incredible story take place, and it's going to make an impact. It can make an impact, and that's really cool.
So that was an exciting short that aired on Pivot with the help of Pepsi and their Starbucks Double Shot drink, which again, you're starting to see brands really take notice and quite frankly, sometimes not figure out how to interact with our generation. And I think part of our responsibility is to show them the ways that we want them to support the work we want to do. And we can do that in a lot of different ways. So with Pivot as our partner this last semester, we've been able to expand to 15 campuses across the country, and that's just the beginning. Students are coming to us all the time wanting to start chapters or these sort of mini studios, as Evan called them, of students of the world, where we really purpose to just be kind of an incubator for their concepts of how they want to see creativity happen on their campus. So an example would be we have a student chapter at the University of Berkeley, and the student government at Berkeley has recently hired our students to produce content for the next year that revolves around activism on campus, which is a pretty active campus, so they've got a lot of work ahead of them. But it's really, really exciting to see the kind of work that's coming out of our students today. And I guess I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about why we're here, just a kind of a few reflections that I have on that windy path from college to career. Like I said, I think as a creative professional, you really have to value community. You have to have a lot of courage, and you have to find your purpose. So when I talk about community, while there's not a direct path for those of us that aspire to be creatives, there is a really incredibly strong, compassionate community, and there are incredible people that have forged the way, that have gone before us, that have a lot of lessons to teach us. And they're not all about digital technology. A lot of it's about how to build relationships, how to be an ethical person in the workforce, how to build your brand and build something that matters. So I think days like today, the fact that you all are here is a huge step, and the fact that you see all of these incredibly, incredibly gifted and talented professionals that have taken their day off to be with us today is a really strong indicator that there are mentors and people out there that want to help us, that want to help young people. There have been so many people that have encouraged and inspired me along the way, and I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for their encouragement. So go out and seek out mentors. Like literally ask that question, like, will you be my mentor? Which made me nervous the first time I asked it, but those mentorship relationships, and you don't need 5, you could just have 1, maybe 2, but great mentor relationships will really, I think, help change the course of your career. They will be the people that help lift you up when you fall down. They will be the people that help you see opportunities when you otherwise might have missed them. I think also success in life is based 100% on relationships. My godmother, who's also my father's business partner of 40 plus years, which is pretty amazing, she talks a lot about the value of relationships and relationships of value. So it's basically this idea that we need to really, truly appreciate the relationships that we have with others, and those relationships need to be based on value, on kindness, on appreciation, and on respect. On the next point, I think professional success for our creative generation takes an incredible amount of courage, tenacity, and dedication. You know, generations above us seem very polarized and divided on how they see our generation. There are those who I strongly disagree with, who would call us the me generation. We're lazy, we're narcissistic, we're internet obsessed. I don't know where these people get their information, but they're certainly not seeing what I'm seeing, because there's people on the other side of the spectrum that are calling us the next greatest generation. You know, we've grown up in a great recession. We have seen really hard, scary times, and we're all still not only standing, but we want to find purpose and meaning in our life and in our careers, and I think that's remarkable. And I see this every day. I work with young people, my staff, our volunteers, our students, the young professionals that we work with. I have inspiration every day of my life because I work with the millennial generation. And I think we need to own that. I think it's our responsibility to demonstrate that. I think that you see examples of this, but we need to come together as a generation, and we're starting to do this, but we need to do it more, and say, you know, we are creatives, we are compassionate, we're not gonna go a traditional route of finding a job, we want purpose in what we do. And I think that that's the last thing that I would say is so important, is to find your own purpose. It looks different for everyone. Aristotle once said, and I love this, that where your talents and the needs of the world intersect, therein lies your passion. So where your talents and the needs of the world come together, that's your vocation, that's your purpose. And so I think that is a very difficult question or difficult thing to muddle through, because those are pretty big concepts. But I think if you can find that spot, you can find purpose, you can find meaning, you can find happiness. My father says that purpose is the definitive statement of the difference you're trying to make in the world. So finding your purpose isn't easy. Living a purposeful, professional career life is not always the easiest path, but it is certainly the most rewarding. And I think as our generation rises and as the workforce changes, you're going to see companies needing to address purpose and being socially conscious across all industries. Doesn't matter if you're for-profit or nonprofit. If you're not creating a better place for your work community, for your city, for your state, for your country, for the world, I don't think our generation wants to work for you. I don't think our generation wants to buy your products. And as our purchasing power increases, as we get just a bit older, companies are going to have to change or they're going to die, I think. So, speaking of purpose, and a company that won't, there is an incredible organization called Tomorrow's Youth Organization. They are a nonprofit that we worked with, thank you, in Nablus in the West Bank. We've actually sent a number of different student teams to produce work for them. They are an early childhood education center addressing the needs of some of the largest refugee camps in the West Bank. It is an organization full of individuals of purpose. And I would love to share with you guys a film that our students produced a couple years ago about the organization and just sort of kind of show you guys what I think purpose looks like.
His name is Islam. He lives in Askar camp, and this kid is something else. One day I tried to do some kind of techniques with him, like to do more discipline. And his reaction is like, okay, you want to make me sit here? I will show you. He ran away from our center and he threatened to kill himself. This is not right. I called his parents and the father was very honest.
يعني أنا إسلام ضربته حشرته في الدكان في عندي مخزن دكان حشرته ضربته علقته يعني تفننت في إسلام أنا تفننت كل دقيقة باب الدار يضرب مين إسلام ولع نار إسلام مش أنا فلان طيب راحت يا زلمة بقول لك فيش حدا من الشارع حتى من الشارع أو من عيلتي من عمامه أخواله كله إلا أجا توسط له إسلام كسر سديل يا زلمة الصغيرة سديل اللي كانت هون كان هذا ما كانش عندي هدول كان هذا محطوط هون وكان الفراش نحط عليه طلع فوق مسك أخته هاي الصغيرة الرفيعة وش كان عمرها بجوز 8 شهور كسرها من هين كسرها إسلام بيعملش هذا الحساب حساب إسلام لما بكون غلطان بيجيب حدا معه حماية وبيجي عرفش أنا بشوف إسلام مش ابن عيشة بس أكتر من هيك بحكيش أكتر من إسلام مش ابن عيشة بيعمل عملات
And so the kid coming to us showing us that what else you can do? What kind of ways you will teach me? He grew up with that pattern of system and he expects any system in the world is the same. The only thing he needs option. He needs somebody to believe in him. And a lot of things change just with one intervention.
صار عنده اهتمام في المركز بشكل رهيب جدا صار إسلام يروح على المدرسة من المدرسة كانت 12:30 يروح مدرسة مركزه 2:45 فيش شيء صعب بس كيف تدخل كيف المدخل يعني كل واحد وتعليمه
هاي بتكون زي الحرام الكبيرة هاي تعملوها هيك وتقعدوا تحتيها إله إيدين بعدين بتفلتوا وبتقعدوا تحتيها بصير زي البيت صار كتير عندي صحاب لما كيس قال بيقولوا لي لما تطلع بالطيارة افتح الشباك ولما توصل هذا الأبيض بالسماء اعمل هيك بيطلع لك تلج أصير طيار عشان أوصل الناس. كانت منيحة معي. حياتي تغيرت لما صارت أحسن. صارت أحسن.
I love, my favorite line in that short is when Islam's father says that everyone has an entrance, you just have to find the key. I just love that. So in closing, value your community, realize that we only really achieve great things when we do things with other people and with the help of others. Have the courage and confidence in yourself to make the bold choices you will need to make as a creative professional. And figure out what purpose means to you, because that will be the defining compass for you as you navigate the path of your career. So thank you all for your time. I appreciate it so much. And look, if you ever need any help navigating these waters, myself, Students of the World, our staff, our resource, we'll be here all day, and you can find us online, and we're happy to help this generation of creatives. Thanks.
So Courtney, she has been a friend for the last greater than a year. She's also a tremendous business person too. In addition to the brand short that we showed there, we've made short films with Students of the World on different campuses for Stonyfield Farms, and we're about to embark on another campaign for Hyundai. And so you have an example there of following your passion, and doing good in the world, but also making a living, and learning how to get ahead. And if you look at both Courtney and Megan, who really branched out on their own. And they went out on a limb there to try to follow their passion, but also it's not an easy career path. Megan is basically a freelance artist, and Courtney is an entrepreneur and nonprofit head, and these are not easy things to do, but these are going to be more and more where opportunities spring from. It's not always going to be the entry-level job. Oftentimes it's going to be self-starting. Starting your own blog, starting your own business, starting your own nonprofit. And that's a lot of where the jobs in the new economy are going to come from. We cannot look backwards at the jobs that our parents and our grandparents have and look for a future that is necessarily sustainable. We have to look forward, and these types of interesting new world entrepreneurships are really, for many of us, going to be the pathway forward. So something to look for there. And then the second thing is mentorship. You've heard it over and over and over again. That's how I met Brandon. There will be a couple of other moderators that you're going to meet in a little while, Karen and Dan. Again, both of those relationships started with me as mentorship relationships, me mentoring them, not the other way around. But oftentimes I learned as much from them as they may have learned from me.